With just a few short weeks away from Toronto's by-election to be the next mayor, things are heating up. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley, Fraser Macdonald. So, Brian, there are a lot of debates yet to be had, a lot of chatter yet to be discussed. But the one thing that a name that keeps coming up over and over again is our former colleague at the Toronto Sun, Anthony Furey, who seems to be gaining some traction, and his name is on a lot of people's minds right now.
Yeah, he would be the candidate that has the mo at the moment. Is it enough momentum to take him up to Olivia Chow territory? I don't know. Fascinating thing about this is that, a lot of different polling companies have different results, and then the campaigns have their own internal polling. And I've talked to several of the campaigns about their internals and how they match with the public polling, and they don't necessarily like where they're at in one of the public polls, or they think they're higher in different things. Everybody has Olivia Chow over 30%, and nobody is near her. So, for those of us that want sanity at City Hall, that has to be a worry. And Anthony Furey has been breaking through with some of his announcements. The other campaigns have been playing it very safe. It hasn't been breaking through. Furey's announcement on the branded crack and meth pipes the other day got people talking. It got a lot of people angry at him who support, safe supply and safe injection sites and all of these things that have turned Vancouver into a mess. But he also got people saying, wait a minute, we're spending money on what? He needs to do more of that to try and break through.
Fraser, you and I are no strangers to a municipal election or two, but this is, very consequential. Toronto has an opportunity to fix many of the problems that have been accumulating over successive mayoralties. And the idea that Olivia Chow is sitting at 30%, and Brian just wrote a very in-depth piece about Chow's version of policies that she wants very much mirror many of these cities that are falling apart, with the safe injection sites, with the clean needles, like all of these things. You see the high crime, you see all of these issues Toronto's facing right now. But Furey is not being included in the debates. So it's a bit of a disingenuous sort of election in that regard, that Torontonians aren't being afforded that opportunity to hear more from him and see him. But regardless of that, he's still piercing through. And I'm wondering, what is it about the message that he's giving that either Saunders can't push or Bradford isn't capitalizing on either?
I would say, and this is probably stemming largely from a lesson I learned from our late great friend Rob Ford, is that authenticity really matters, and voters can tell when you really mean it. And with Anthony Furey, love him or hate him, and agree or disagree with his policies, but there's no questioning that this guy really means it. And so I think that is helping him cut through where other candidates haven't yet succeeded, because he just seems so authentic.
Brian, we talk about the 30% that Olivia Chow has. I credit that mostly to her name recognition. She's been in and around the political circle at all levels of government for 40 years, nearly 40 years. Now she's been out of it. She came out in this election saying she learned a lot from the mistakes in her 2014 bid to become mayor, which was a catastrophic election. But they're running a classic frontrunner campaign. We don't really hear a lot from her. She shows up at the debates and all the other candidates attack her. She seems to handle herself well. But the post-debate scrum after the debate recently, it didn't go so well, because when you actually pick apart her policies in terms of how she's going to pay for them, she doesn't have great answers. And so there's a breadth of a record there to hold her accountable on. But I just don't see that happening, and so I wonder if that were to actually pierce through that 30%, would it come down?
It might, but how solid is that 30%? So people say, oh, I'll vote for Olivia Chow. The bigger question is, will you actually vote? 29% of eligible voters cast ballots in last October's election. That was not an anomaly. due to the fact that everyone believed John Tory was going to win it in a cakewalk, which he did. That's become pretty standard for Toronto municipal elections. So if it was 29% in a general election for the city, we could be electing a mayor with 10, 13, 18% of voters casting a ballot. It's going to matter who gets the vote out, who motivates their supporters to get out and vote for or against. And right now, Brad Bradford had a good shot at the Ryerson debate. Sorry, I still call it that. He had a good shot at Olivia Chow, describing how she's got a hidden 20% tax hike coming. That your city fees will go up by this percentage on this percentage on that. And he broke it down really well. Well, people have to keep pushing that message. I think Furey's the only one that can go after Chow on the drug policies, the ones that she wants to emulate what's happening in Philadelphia, what's happening in Vancouver and in San Francisco, because the others, I haven't heard Saunders on this directly. He might do it, but the Bradfords, the Bylaws, everybody else is kind of on side with it, saying, well, if the medical officer says it's good, then it's good. Well, the BC coroner says that the Vancouver drug policy is great, and yet the number of overdose deaths have gone up almost tenfold. I don't see how that's a good outcome. So Saunders or Furey or somebody has to start picking on Chow for her taxes and picking on her hard for the drug policy that she wants to implement in Toronto that will see us go down a very dark path that we have not followed these other cities on yet.
Hardly a day goes by in the Toronto Sun, Fraser, where there isn't a story about an encampment or an issue at an encampment or some sort of drug paraphernalia that's being found in parks all over the city of Toronto, and painting the picture of what a further reality would look like under a Chow mayoralty. It's troubling. And that could be a motivating factor for people to do the anybody but Chow vote. But who do they coalesce around? Who do they get behind? I mean, right now it's perceived that Mark Saunders is potentially, of the sort of center-right candidates, is in second place. But there has been a disconnect. He's not been able to account for his record as chief of police as well as perhaps some would have thought he would have been able to. So if you're advising someone like Anthony Furey, and you imagine the dynamic of a Chow Furey debate, which could happen. Well, she doesn't want that, but it could happen. How does that play out? If you're giving advice to them or to Furey's campaign, what would you say?
Well, I would say paint a picture of what Toronto under Olivia Chow would really look like, and keep telling people about what the real outcomes might be here, because so far, and it's probably the correct campaign strategy as a clear front runner, is to sort of keep her in a bubble. But she's a bubble candidate, and she's not really talking about policy, and she's not really giving people meat on the bones about what she wants to do. And when you parse through the details of what she has said, I think there's a lot of enormous questions and reasons for concern. Mm-hmm. So keep telling people this is what you get in door A. And I have a different approach, and it does not involve, turning vast parts of our cities into no-go zones.
Well, with advanced polling starting next week and election day on June 26th, the signs are up. It's now time for Toronto to start paying attention. Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think, and go to theTorontoSun.com. Hit that subscribe button. You're going to find out what all these mayoralty candidates are promising you with your money and where they stand on all of these policy positions. You're going to find coverage at theTorontoSun.com that you're not going to find anywhere else.